Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest NetElixir webinar. Today, we're going to be reviewing the holiday weekend results from last weekend. So, looking at Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday online sales results. We are coming to you live from the NetElixir offices, where we currently are in a conference room filled with great holiday decorations, snowflake cutouts on the wall, lights everywhere, and everyone here is in truly the holiday spirit. So we're excited to share that with you, as well as share some of these numbers. Now, before we begin, as usual, I'd love to share with you some information about NetElixir, especially for those of you who are brand new to us and have not joined one of our webinars. NetElixir is a retail search marketing agency built by 120 fanatically analytical search marketers operating in 3 countries around the world. We are both a premier partner with Google and a Bing Select agency, as well as UPS Customer Technology Program Certified Partner. What we'd like to deliver is our expertise combined with proprietary technology, as well as a relentless focus on retail to provide you with the best ways to bring new customers and help acquire them. We work with some of the biggest brands in retail, like Ulta Beauty, Pyrex, Ashley Stewart, Teleflora, and nearly 100 others across different categories, giving us one of the most unique standpoints on retail e-commerce marketing in the industry. One of our mantras is helping you decode what makes people click. So we don't just think about paid search or paid social or organic search as clicks to your website, but rather we like to think about the people behind that, what motivates them, what influences them, and what they're looking for so that we can match up their intent with your brand and help convert. Some of the solutions we offer include digital marketing strategy, which is baked into everything we do, paid search and shopping on Google, Bing, and other networks, search engine optimization, paid social media advertising, Amazon marketing services on both Seller and Vendor Central, and Elixir Guide, one of the industry's first paid search recommendation engines that uses machine learning to help automate and make the PPC process easier than ever before. A little bit about the speaker. Udayan Bose is the founder and CEO of NetElixir. He founded the company more than 13 years ago after a successful run at PartyBingo.com, a subsidiary of Party Gaming. Udayan is a guest lecturer at the Johnson School of Management in Cornell University, the City University of New York, and the Indian School of Business. I encourage all of you who haven't met with him yet to connect with Udayan on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/UdayanBose so that you can share ideas and get all the updates on the industry that he has. He's also a very friendly guy, so don't be shy. He's happy to connect with and communicate with anyone that connects with him on that network. So, before any further ado, I would like to present Udayan to you. Please take the mic, boss.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks everyone for joining in. This is incidentally, Stephen, our 9th holiday results webinar. So it's a very special moment, and thanks to all of you for joining in. We started doing this first in the year 2009, and we found that at that time Thanksgiving understandably was not really a holiday, a big shopping sort of a day. It used to start from Black Friday, but how things have changed over late. So what we are going to be sharing is we at NetElixir have been tracking over 375 million impressions, so search impressions this year, aggregated across multiple categories. I think we have about 6 to 8 categories that we have been sort of tracking, and some of the mid-size and large customers. Now these are actual customers of NetElixir, and we have been essentially basing our results off the results of these clients, all of them, as I mentioned, large or mid-sized retailers in the US. The data has been captured separately for mobile and desktop. Mobile, as I think all of us know, has become a a very, very significant force over the last about 3 years now. And we have also used our own intelligence technology called NetElixir Insights to go ahead and really sort of use and churn and analyze a lot of the data that we are presenting to you today. So let me start off with the results and trends. This has been a strong start to the holiday season. I don't want to sort of break the suspense, but I think overall the Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, it has been a strong start to the season. Overall, based on our data set, the US e-commerce sales were up by 15%, and we are looking at a 5-day period which started on Thursday and the Thanksgiving Day and ended on Cyber Monday. We also were able to plot on a region basis how much of growth really happened. Again, this is all e-commerce and online results. So as you can see, Northeast grew by 11.6%. South, we had seen last year a 27% growth, still is the leader this year. There has been a tremendous amount of surge in online shopping, specifically during the holidays that we have seen in 2016, and that same trend continues this year as well. That still is our #1 district in terms of year-on-year growth at 20% growth over last year. From the West, that has sort of clawed back up. Last year was a little lower. I think West was last year in the 3rd position. This year it has to almost, it's still the 3rd, but probably a very, very close 3rd to Central, which is up by about 14%. So overall, the sales year-on-year went up for the same 5 days, so Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, by 15%. Now let me dive down to the paid search key metrics. As Stephen has already told you, we specialize and we do a lot of tracking very specifically on the paid search accounts, because it has been validated that search impressions and search performances are tremendous indicator of the overall online sales performances as well. So typically, as I think all of us know, people search, then they shop, and then they buy. So effectively, that's where I think we consider, and we have seen a tremendous correlation between the search impressions and the search performances with the overall performances as well. So again, the year-on-year growth in average CPC, or cost per click, on Google as well as Bing combined was 5.1%. Moderate, not huge. It's fairly moderate growth or increase. The impressions, though, had a pretty substantial jump at 17%. So search impressions this year in those 5 days compared to last year were up by 17%. The conversions, or actually the number of orders, were up interestingly by 21% almost. That's a massive increase. And the average order value. So last year, I don't know if some of you who are attending today were there at last year's this presentation as well. There actually the AOV had gone down, but this year we are seeing that the average order value has gone up by 8%. So all of these indicators very clearly point to a very strong, robust start to this holiday season. Moving on, we have tried to break down the orders by day. Cyber Monday continues to dominate, so 39% last year versus 37% this year. The most interesting trend has been the growing dominance of Thanksgiving Day. As you see, last year, of all the online orders tracked by our customers, 12% came on Thanksgiving Day. And this year, that percentage increased to 15%. Now, considering that the overall base has increased by 15% as well, that's quite a massive shift in terms of the overall buying trends. Black Friday is steady. It's increased a little bit from 20% to 22%. What has diminished has been the holidays, basically the Saturday and the Sunday within this holiday time frame. So 29% has come down to 26% a little bit. So as we were discussing all this stuff internally, I mean, we were all coming up with the different reasons. So one of the reasons which was recommended or suggested by the team was maybe the 29% came down to 26% because people are still awaiting for a better deal on Cyber Monday. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons why we are seeing, and we'll probably validate that statement as well, why people do not make or commit to as many purchases on Saturday and Sunday. So one of the questions, again, which I really wanted to present is, knowing that people are waiting all the way till Cyber Monday, does it make sense for retailers to probably pause their Black Friday promotions, if not at midnight on Black Friday, probably at about noon on Saturday? Because if people are not really buying at that time, or the propensity of buying is less because they are going to wait for the Cyber Monday promotions, why extend your promotions? You probably may not really suffer too much of a hit, but maybe the margins can be impacted quite substantially by that observation. Moving on, this was, in my opinion, one of the three most interesting stats, and I was quite intrigued by this. Stephen was also quite intrigued by this. Thanksgiving beat all the other days in average order value or average order size, which is unprecedented. In the last, as I mentioned, 9 years we have been doing. I mean, I think it's fair to say that Thanksgiving really became a shopping event only in the year 2013 onwards. So before that probably may not really count as much, but we have never seen ever the shopping value or the cart value on Thanksgiving being higher than any of the other days in this 5-day weekend. So that was a very, very interesting trend. Black Friday comes number 2, and Cyber Monday, interestingly, in our data set, at roughly about $202 average order value, was a fairly distant, I would think, in terms of AOV. When you look at Thanksgiving, the AOV was about $250, was a fairly distant number 3. Understandably, again, Saturday and Sunday were pretty low in terms of average order values, prompting us to think that probably people are buying more because of a necessity rather than essentially by volition or choice. So that's, I think, one of the things which was interesting. We also then tried to get a little deeper, a little more anal about the entire thing, and try to identify as to what were the top day parts, when do people search, and when do people buy. So we have, as I mentioned, this is across the industries. We have tried to track the impressions from the midnight of the 22nd of November, so essentially midnight of Wednesday, all the way till midnight of Cyber Monday. And you would see that, I mean, no big surprises there. Almost about 67% of all the searches really happened post noon during this time frame per day. No huge surprises there, because people tend to sort of search late, specifically on the Thanksgiving Day and Black Friday. The search queries and the impressions are fairly late, even on Cyber Monday as well, to an extent. The purchases also had a very similar trend. Midnight or 6 p.m. to midnight was the number 1 day part in terms of purchases. So 35% of all the purchases really happened. The highest converting day parts were essentially between 6 p.m. and midnight. Very interesting, something that we were discussing out here in the office. That is the time most people sort of go back home, or probably at home, and then do the search. And advertising campaigns, the search advertising campaigns are being managed at that time, probably remains a question. So this is when the people are really searching, is your campaign being managed very actively? Is again one of the things we really wanted to ask you. We went down all the way to, and as you have seen, that we have taken about 7 categories here: apparel, beauty and cosmetics, electronics, eyewear, food and gourmet, footwear, flowers and gifting, and kitchenware. It's about eight different categories here. Some very interesting trends. So let me explain this slide a little bit. It's a pretty intense slide. So all the green cells essentially denote per category which was the number 1 day part in that particular day. So let us say for apparel, the top day part, which is when the maximum number of impressions happened or the searches happened, let us say on Google and Bing, was between 6 p.m. and midnight. While for something like footwear, the maximum searches would happen between noon and 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. For flowers and gifting, maximum searches or impressions happen between 6 a.m. and noon, which was a surprise to us, that people tend to search for flowers earlier compared to when they search for apparel. So some of these trends are pretty interesting, forcing you to think as to how you should be running your marketing campaign. The blue cells effectively denote, again, let us just look at Thanksgiving again, they denote as to when the conversion rates are the highest. So we construe or analogize conversion rate as this is the propensity of people to commit to a purchase, right? This is when most people are likely to make a purchase, right? The probability of a person purchasing is highest. So if you look at electronics, very interesting, on Thanksgiving Day, right after midnight of the 22nd, we saw the number 1 day part being that, probably related to the fact that lot of consumer electronics companies started their Black Friday promotion right then. That was a very interesting observation. The same was for footwear as well. While on the other hand, for beauty and cosmetics, it was between 6 p.m. to midnight. The likelihood or their probability of buying or their conversion rate was the highest. So again, some of the very interesting stats. If you really proceed from the left to the right of this table, you would see during, as we get to Cyber Monday, you would see a lot of bunching in the sense grouping together of all the different day parts. So you would see most of the blues between 6 p.m. and midnight, probably to be expected because people sort of maybe do the search at office, which seems to be the case between noon and 6 p.m. And then they come home, and then at that point in time, they sort of make the purchase from probably from their mobile or iPad or laptop, whatever it is. So that's, I think, an interesting trend. That's a fairly consistent one. There was just one, if you really look at Cyber Monday, two departures from this trend. The first departure was beauty and cosmetics, when midnight of Sunday till 6 a.m. of Cyber Monday was the #1 day part. So people apparently seem to have started the search and the buy process effectively pretty early for beauty and cosmetics. While if you really look at for flowers and gifting, 6 a.m. to noon was the #1 day part. So the number of conversions essentially which happened between 6 a.m. and noon for flowers was the highest. So this is very interesting because, again, purely as someone who's deeply intrigued and interested as to how people really search, shop, and buy, this data is something which NetElixir really sort of revels in, right? We get too excited by this information. It shows us that even though it may be all called retail, but consumers have a different way as well as a different time when they really search for things and when they buy things as well. So that was pretty interesting from that perspective. So I'll just sort of wrap up this section with quick observation and insights. So I've already discussed the first one, with the exception of Cyber Monday, when maximum searches really happened between 6 p.m. and midnight. The highest search impression day parts were fairly scattered. For most categories, the maximum purchases happened during the second half of the day. The third bullet is something which I really wanted to spend a minute on. And this is very interesting stuff. So as you can see, that conversion rates during the top day parts, so remember these are the top day parts, right? Wherever you have those blue cells, they were as much as 3.25 times higher than the average conversion rate. And I have given two examples here, right? For the apparel category, the top conversion rate during the top day part was 7.87%, while the average during this 5-day period was 3.25%, which is about 2 point. So the top converting day part was about 2.4 times higher likelihood of getting a customer compared to the average. While in flowers and gifts, and these are some pretty exceptional numbers out there, 14.27% conversion rate. So out of 100 people who click and get to your site, the probability of 14 of them actually making a purchase of your site, but it's a huge number. I mean, anyone in retail would know that it's like massive number, right? So that was almost about 3.2 times higher compared to the average that we saw in those 5 days, which was 4.5%. So what our recommendation would be the day part analysis. If you really sort of go in, do not take retail as one single or uniform slab, because understand that customers have different buying preferences, different styles and ways and methods of shopping as well. And this day part analysis can provide very, very substantial insights in terms of when do people search, when do they shop, and when do they buy. Moving on, the second thing that we wanted to test was how big was the impact of mobile this year, right? We have all talked about mobile. And we have been quantifying this again for the last, very clearly for the last few years. And let me present to you the last 3 years numbers. So this year, the mobile share of all the search visits has grown to almost 67% compared to last year. Massive increase, 67% effectively of all the searches. I mean, that has been typically sort of coming from mobile devices. So out of 100 searches, 67 searches essentially come from mobile devices. And as you have seen that it regularly has grown. In Thanksgiving Day, it grew from 48% in 2015 to 57% in 2016 to 66% in 2017. While on Saturday and Sunday, it was like 70%. Cyber Monday, it came down a little bit, probably because from office, people were sort of searching using their desktop. So that's probably one of the reasons we were thinking why the mobile search percentage came down. This should not be. I think there is a typo here. It should not be year on year. This is 67% of all the searches which happened on that day happen from mobile devices. It should not be year on year. It's effectively what percentage of all the searches came from mobile devices. Orders, on the other hand, has really grown at a slightly slower pace, but still it is at 37%. Last year, if my memory serves me right, for these 5-day period, it was about 30 or 31%. So this year it has grown to about 37%, which is quite massive. The AOV, the average order value on mobile, though, was lower. It was about 40%, still lower than the desktop average order value. But this gap has been diminishing constantly. I sort of did some research and was able to dig up some numbers back from 2014. So there it was, the overall mobile average order value was 1/6, believe it or not, of the purchase value of the desktop. That has now become at least 40% lower. It's still pretty low, 0.6 of essentially the desktop average order value, but still it sort of keeps increasing. So something which sort of goes without saying that you cannot really ignore mobile. We tried to go a little deeper on this again, and we tried to categorize for you the mobile share essentially by category, because we figured that there are a lot of aggregate numbers coming in, and many of you probably would fit into one of these different categories of retail. So rather than looking at aggregate numbers, which may not really mean as much for you, probably it makes sense to go into category by category as such. So we saw that in apparel segment, the impressions mobile accounted for about 47% of all the searches, right? And orders were about 40%. Just see the next category, which is beauty and cosmetics. So 65% of all the searches which are happening for a beauty product are happening from mobile devices, while 58% of all the orders are coming from mobile devices. That's pretty substantial. Now go down further all the way to footwear. You would see 83% of all the people who are searching on Google or Bing do so using their mobile phone. And 62% of all the people who are doing those searches convert or become a customer, or sort of purchase something from the site using their mobile phone. So again, a big, so almost like a clarion call for all of the retailers there. I mean, very clearly, mobile is something that you cannot ignore any longer. Otherwise, I mean, just think of it. If a footwear company still doesn't really have a mobile-first website, they would essentially not be able to tap into this 83% of their overall market effectively, right, in terms of share. 3 quick observations on mobile. The share of mobile search impressions sharply increased, I mean, to be expected. But again, during the work day, though, specifically Cyber Monday, desktop was significantly higher than mobile. Mobile search dominates high impulse purchase categories like cosmetics and fashion. It's a much easier purchase. And certainly, probably from such slightly more considered purchase or a higher consideration set purchases like high-end electronics and houseware, the searches happen on mobile, but the purchases still are more happening on the desktop. So with this, I just sort of come to the last piece, or the second last piece of this thing. I know we are sort of running a little late on this. We may probably extend it by maybe 5 minutes. And again, this presentation would be recorded. So if you have to rush, please feel free. But those of you who attended our webinar, our first holiday forecast webinar on the 17th of August this year, we were actually the first company to come up with the holiday forecast. We do it every year. We probably are always the first ones to come up with the forecast. And this was the 10% year-on-year growth for the entire holiday season for 2017. That was our forecast. And we branded this as more of a cautiously optimistic forecast as such. We said that 10%, not huge. We are not really going ballistic with 15%, 20%, etc. It's just 10% year-on-year growth. So let us see as to how we sort of fared against that forecast, at least to start the holiday season. So we actually were a little conservative on that, right? So in the first 5 days, 15% was what our data set recorded, based on which we had predicted the 10% growth. But there is one thing that you should not ignore, or no one should ignore, that 78% of all the online holiday sales are yet to happen. So we did some tracking, and in 2015, the period of Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday accounted for only 20% of all the holiday sales. When I say holiday, I'm talking about the period between Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas, right? So only 20% of the holiday sale happened in these 5 days. last year it was 22%. So even if you take 22% this year has already happened in these 5 days, it means that 78% is still pending, yet to happen. Very interestingly, last year, again, not to sound too conservative about this or too pessimistic about this thing, but when we had done this forecast, we had seen in the first 5 days of the holiday season, the growth was 18%, and finally, overall, when NRF declared the result, it matched up to our forecast of 11%. So this year, from that as a basis, we believe the forecast that we have made of 10% still will hold good. It probably may be 0.25% here and there, but it would not be too much of a departure. What it means essentially for you as a retailer effectively is you have to really sort of fight for every dollar and not take off your eyes from the price, because as I mentioned, 78% of the holiday season is still yet to happen. On the mobile, we had made a forecast that more than 35% of all the purchases will happen from the mobile phone this holiday season. And in the first 5 days, I think that has come true. 37% of all the purchases in the first 5 days, as I mentioned earlier, came from mobile phones. I just sort of want to end with 3 holiday SEM hacks. I mean, a lot of you are doing a significant amount of search marketing, and a lot of you are, I think all of you probably are retailers. So just 3 hacks which we have learned, and we as a company are probably a group of fanatically analytical search hackers. So take it from the search hacker to hopefully some of these can help you literally today, because as I mentioned, a majority of the big chunk of the holiday season is still ahead of you. So the first part was, one of our big struggles was, if you really are using Google AdWords and Google Analytics as your data source, right? The problem was the numbers never matched up, because your Google Analytics always was lagging behind. So what we did was, we went ahead and tried within this account, this is within Google AdWords, you click on account and under the secondary dimension, just type in the word data source. You will be able to sort of get real-time data. So again, a simple hack which sort of connects your AdWords to analytics, which prevents this problem of a 2-hour lag time or 1-hour lag time between the AdWords data and the analytics data. In certain cases, it can help a lot. Specifically, again, as we have seen, I mean, if you are tracking, let us say, Facebook numbers through Google Analytics, this can be a problem. But by just doing this very simple hack, it can really sort of help you quite substantially. The second one was, this was very interesting, because in some of our campaigns, we just replaced the traditional site link with holiday site links. And holiday site links were not really the most creative ones. We just sort of put Black Friday, or we just sort of put Cyber Monday, right? Some site link which mentioned this word Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's amazing psychologically as to what impact it has on people. Because as you can see, just by the mention of these words, Cyber Monday or Black Friday, the click-through rates were up on these particular site links by 55%, while the conversion rate was up by 56%. Huge, massive. Simple hack. All that you have to do is, rather than having the same standard site links all showing still, just change with very specific holiday specific site links, and you'll be able to see your CTR and the conversion rate sort of go up quite substantially. The last hack is more of, I think, what we have already spoken about, because people have different search behavior. They start the search process, they're more likely to be on the mobile phone, they're on the desktop once they reach office, and back home they are again sort of using multiple channels. So we tried this for a few of our customers for who we are managing the social media campaigns, or the paid social, or the Facebook campaigns. So we tried to start by prospecting on mobile, right? So we are trying to acquire the lookalikes, the competitor fans, and the other interest-based segments, specific and prior to the office hours. So even before the office hours started, this was what we tried to do, prospecting on mobile. Then we tried to continue the process after mapping the customer persona as to how would the person really search using a desktop, right? So we were actually retargeting those current buyers on the desktop during the office hours. So that's, I think, one of the things that we did. And at the end of it, post 6 p.m., we changed it to both the different channels, basically both mobile as well as desktop. And the idea was to how can we really maximize sales. The interesting part in this entire thing is, not only were we able to tap into the different customer usage behavior, because you don't really sort of work with the desktop all the time, or you don't really work with the mobile all the time. And we were able to sort of use that part, making the campaign a lot more efficient. And at the end of it, the results that we were able to drive was quite substantial. So these are the 3 hacks which I wanted to sort of share with you. And just to quickly summarize, obviously the first thing is go mobile. I think based on the data, I don't think I need to emphasize this anymore rather than saying that go mobile, simple. The second one is build hyper-targeted campaigns around the most profitable day parts for your business. So again, there is no point in spending an inordinate amount of money between in those day parts when we do not really convert very well. I mean, why do you even sort of spend money at that time when you know that there are certain day parts where the conversion rates is as much as 3 times higher than the average conversion rate, right? And only 22% of the holiday purchases have happened. How prepared are you for the remainder of the holiday season? So I think we had shared during our holiday webinar, again, this was in August, our holiday search marketing calendar. It's very interesting. So Stephen asked me as to how well we are trending on each one of these. It has been pretty accurate. The only place where we probably have been a little conservative has been Tuesday, so which is the 28th, but which is not in this particular study, but it was a pretty strong Tuesday as well. So the 28th of November was pretty strong. So just to explain the holiday calendar, this enables you, and you can see the color coding, and you can download the calendar directly from our website and so on. This enables you to allocate your marketing funds a lot more efficiently between the different days of this holiday period. Why is it important? It is important because 78% of the sales or the purchases are yet to happen. Very, very, very important. And last but not the least, I think there's still time. It's never late to sort of learn and apply some of the hacks. We have shared 3 of the hacks with you. You can download our holiday readiness workbook. It is a complimentary workbook from our side. It is www.netelixir.com/holidays. And you can implement some of these strategies. I mean, we have had a track record of beating the average holiday results by about 3x. And these are the hacks that we have really captured in this workbook, which can be used by pretty much anyone. So with that, and obviously sort of wishing all of you a very happy holiday season, let me hand it back to Stephen.
Great, thank you so much. I know we're running pretty tight on time, and to respect everyone's busy schedule, we'll just take a few questions. For anyone that we aren't able to get to, I encourage you to send us an email at university@netelixir.com, and we will be able to take it offline and answer your questions. So the first question that we had gotten, let me look through some of these known ones. This is an easy one. Will this presentation be emailed out to everyone? The answer is yes. We will be sending this out along with a simple worksheet that recaps everything here for you. Great, thank you, Kyle, for that question. The next question is from Ronald saying, of all these different results that you shared today, which one was the most surprising? So Udayan, would you like to jump in on that?
Great question, Ronald. Thank you for that. I mean, there were quite a few very interesting instances, Ronald. I think the one that I was surprised personally the most with was the average order value on Thanksgiving Day. The AOV, I hadn't ever expected that the average shopping cart size on Thanksgiving Day would be higher than that on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So for me, that was the biggest surprise.
Great, thank you. And the last one, this is, I cannot share this one. What's #1 on your holiday list this year?
Oh. That's a difficult one. Well, so we have got into this situation of trying to gift some experiences. So I think we'll probably be sort of buying one of the experiences to gift to my brother and sister-in-law. So that would be, I think, the #1 in my holiday bucket list or checklist. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, we'll be sharing a copy of this presentation with everyone. If you'd like to download some of those resources, I encourage you to visit netelixir.com/holidays. Also, please bookmark netelixir.com/webinar so you can join in on our future presentations. And I wish everyone a happy, healthy, and productive holiday season. Thank you all for joining.